Did you know that Iran has a secret network of allies that's shaking up the world order? From missile tech exchanges to oil deals, these partnerships are changing the game. Today, we're counting down the top 10 countries backing Iran in 2024. You won't believe who's on this list. Get ready for some shocking revelations about Iran's global support network. We're talking about countries you'd never expect to be working with Iran. Some are helping them dodge sanctions, while others are teaming up on military projects that'll make your jaw drop. Are you curious about who's at the top of this list? Well, let me tell you, it's not just the usual suspects. We've got surprises from every corner of the globe. And trust me, when you see who's number 3, you'll be stunned. So stick around, because this countdown is going to blow your mind. Now, imagine a world where Russian drones meet North Korean missiles, all in Iran's hands. Sounds like science fiction? Think again. The next 2 countries on our list are making this a reality. When it comes to military partnerships, Iran's got some heavyweight allies in its corner. Let's start with Russia, a global powerhouse that's been cozying up to Iran like never before. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, these two have taken their relationship to a whole new level. Picture this. Iran's setting up shop right in Russia, building a drone factory that's churning out Shahed drones. These aren't your average toy drones. They're the same ones Russia's been using in Ukraine. But that's not all. Iran's also hooking Russia up with a massive arsenal of surface-to-surface ballistic missiles. We're talking about 400 of these bad boys, giving Russia's military a serious upgrade. But what's in it for Iran? Well, Russia's not just they're giving back big time. They're sharing some of their most advanced military tech with Iran and even helping them reach for the stars. Literally, Russia's been launching Iranian satellites into space, boosting Iran's space program to new heights. Now, let's shift gears and talk about North Korea. You might be wondering, what does this isolated country have to offer Iran? Turns out quite a lot. North Korea has become Iran's go-to buddy for all things ballistic missiles. They're not just sharing notes. They're helping Iran level up its missile game, especially when it comes to short-range tactical systems. And get this. In April 2024, North Korea sent a high-level delegation to Iran. This wasn't just a friendly visit. It was a big deal, showing just how important this partnership is to both countries. But the cooperation doesn't stop at missiles. In 2024, Iran reportedly dropped a cool $700 million on North Korean goods, including military equipment. And how did they pay for it? With oil, something North Korea's economy desperately needs. But it's not all about weapons and oil. North Korea's also got Iran's back on the political stage. Whenever there's a regional conflict, you can bet North Korea is going to side with Iran, especially when it comes to their stance against Israel. So what does all this mean for Iran? Well, with Russia's drones and North Korea's missiles, Iran's military capabilities are skyrocketing. They're not just building up their arsenal, they're becoming a major player in the global arms trade. And with these powerful allies in their corner, Iran's influence on the world stage is growing by the day. While Iran's military might is growing, its real power lies closer to home. What if I told you Iran has quietly built an empire within 2 war-torn countries? The story of Syria and Lebanon reveals a whole new level of Iranian influence. Let's start with Syria. Iran's presence here isn't just a friendly visit, it's a full-scale military operation. We're talking about 3,000 Iranian personnel on the ground, working alongside tens of thousands of fighters from Iran-backed militias. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Iran has set up a staggering 570 military sites across Syria. That includes 55 military bases. Can you imagine the level of control this gives Iran? It's like they've turned Syria into their own personal playground. But why Syria? Well, it's all about strategy. By supporting the Assad regime, Iran keeps a crucial pipeline open. This isn't for oil or gas, it's for weapons. Syria is the key route for Iran to send arms to Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's like a high-stakes game of pass the parcel, but with much higher stakes. And speaking of Lebanon, let's talk about Hezbollah. This isn't just some random group, it's Iran's ace in the hole. Iran showers Hezbollah with money, military training, and cutting-edge weapons. It's like they're building their own super soldier army right in Lebanon's backyard. But Iran's not just handing out guns and grenades, they're going high-tech. We're talking advanced weapons and drone technology. This isn't your average military support, it's next-level stuff that's turning Hezbollah into a force to be reckoned with. Now, you might be wondering, what's in it for Iran? Well, it's all about power and influence. With Hezbollah in Lebanon's parliament, Iran's got a direct line to shape Lebanon's foreign policy. It's like having a puppet on strings dancing to Iran's tune in the complex theater of Middle Eastern politics. But Iran's ambitions don't stop at military might. They're playing the long game in Syria. As the country looks to rebuild after years of conflict, guess who's lining up to cash in? That's right, Iran. They're eyeing big contracts in infrastructure and energy projects. It's like they're not just winning the war, they're planning to win the peace too. And let's not forget Iran's diplomatic moves. Remember when Syria rejoined the Arab League in 2023? Iran was pulling strings behind the scenes, helping to polish up Assad's tarnished image. It's a masterclass in international politics. Iran's showing it can play the diplomatic game just as well as the military one. So what does all this mean for the Middle East? Well, with Syria and Lebanon under its influence, Iran's created a powerful axis right in the heart of the region. It's not just about military strength. It's about reshaping the entire political landscape. Iran's power play doesn't stop at Syria and Lebanon. Imagine a world where sanctions don't work. That's exactly what Iran is trying to create, and you'll be shocked to learn which countries are helping them do it. Let's talk about Venezuela. You might be wondering, what does a South American country have to do with Iran? Well, it turns out a lot. Venezuela has become one of Iran's strongest allies outside the Middle East. These two countries have teamed up to give a big thumbs down to US sanctions. Here's the deal. Venezuela's oil industry has been hit hard by sanctions. But guess who's coming to the rescue? Iran. They're sending in their experts to help Venezuela keep its oil flowing. It's like having a mechanic friend who can fix your car when no one else will. But it's not just about oil. Iran and Venezuela have set up a joint economic cooperation commission. What does that mean? They're working together on all sorts of projects, especially in energy production and oil refining. It's like they're building their own little economic club, away from the watchful eyes of the West. And get this, Venezuela isn't shy about showing its support for Iran. When Iran launched missile strikes against Israel, Venezuela was right there, cheering them on. It's like they're saying, hey, we're in this together. Now, let's hop across the ocean to Turkey. You might think Turkey and Iran would be rivals, but their relationship is more complicated than that. It's like that friend you don't always agree with, but you can't live without. Turkey needs Iran's natural gas and oil to keep its lights on and its cars running. It's a classic case of it's complicated in international relations. They might not see eye to eye on everything, especially when it comes to Syria, but they're still working together to keep their borders safe and their economies growing. Turkish President Erdogan is playing a tricky game. He's vocal about supporting the Palestinian cause, which puts him in Iran's good books. But at the same time, he's careful not to upset other countries. It's like walking a tightrope while juggling. Impressive, but risky. So, what's the big picture here? Iran is building a network of allies that help it dodge sanctions. It's like they're creating their own financial superhighway, bypassing all the roadblocks set up by other countries. This strategy is helping Iran stay afloat economically. Think about it. When you can't use the front door, you find another way in. That's exactly what Iran is doing with help from countries like Venezuela and Turkey. While Venezuela and Turkey offer economic lifelines, Iran's true power lies in its ability to shape conflicts. What if I told you Iran's influence stretches from the Arabian Peninsula to Central Asia, all without firing a single shot itself? That's right. Iran's playing a game of chess on the global stage, and its pawns might surprise you. Let's start with Yemen. Iran's not just supporting the Houthi rebels, it's turning them into a major thorn in Saudi Arabia's side. The Houthis have become Iran's arm in Yemen's civil war, challenging Saudi power right in their backyard. But here's the kicker. Iran's giving the Houthis some serious firepower. We're talking missiles and drones that can disrupt global trade and put pressure on Saudi Arabia. It's like Iran's found a way to fight Saudi Arabia without actually being there. Now, let's hop over to Afghanistan. You'd think Iran and the Taliban would be sworn enemies, right? Well, think again. These two have it's complicated relationship status. They're not best friends, but they're working together on border security and economic cooperation. Iran's even helping Afghanistan with trade, using the Chabahar port to connect them to global markets. It's like Iran saying, hey, we can be friends? Sort of. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about Qatar. This tiny Gulf state is playing a huge role in Iran's strategy. Qatar's like that friend who's always trying to keep the peace. They're constantly hosting Iranian leaders for talks and playing mediator between Iran and the West. And get this, Iran and Qatar share control over one of the world's largest natural gas fields. That's right. They're not just diplomatic buddies, they're business partners too. So what's Iran's endgame here? It's all about building a network of influence. By supporting the Houthis, Iran can keep Saudi Arabia on its toes. With Afghanistan, they're ensuring stability on their eastern border. And Qatar? They're Iran's diplomatic golden ticket, helping them stay connected to the global community. But here's the really clever part. Iran's using these relationships to project power without getting its hands dirty. The Houthis can launch attacks on Saudi Arabia and Israel, and Iran can say, it wasn't us. They're playing a game of proxy warfare, and they're playing it well. This strategy is changing the whole game in the Middle East and beyond. Iran's not just surviving under sanctions, it's thriving. They've found a way to extend their reach across multiple regions, all while staying officially out of conflicts. It's like they've unlocked a cheat code in international politics. Now let's zoom in on Iran's backyard. You might think sanctions have isolated Iran, but there's one country that's become its lifeline. How did Iran turn its former arch-nemesis into its closest friend? The answer lies in Iraq, and it's changing everything. You've heard about Iran's global allies, but this one's a game changer. Iraq isn't just another name on the list, it's Iran's golden ticket to Middle Eastern dominance. And the best part? It's right next door. Remember when Iraq and Iran were at each other's throats? Well, times have changed, and you won't believe how close these two have become. In 2024, their relationship is tighter than ever, with deep roots in politics, military cooperation, and economic ties. Here's the kicker. Iran's got its fingers in every pie in Iraq. They're not just allies. Iran's practically pulling the strings behind the scenes. Shia political factions and militias? Yep, Iran's got major influence there. It's like they've got a direct line to Iraq's decision makers. But it's not all about politics. Iran's playing a crucial role in keeping Iraq safe. Iranian-backed militias are out there, securing Iraq's borders and fighting what's left of ISIS. It's like Iran's built its own security force right inside Iraq. Now let's talk money. In 2024, the trade between Iraq and Iran hit a whopping $5 billion. And that's not even counting oil. Can you imagine how much economic power that gives Iran? It's like they've found a way to dodge sanctions and keep their economy rolling. But here's where it gets really interesting. Iraq needs Iran just as much as Iran needs Iraq. Think about it. Iraq's lights stay on thanks to Iranian gas and electricity. Without Iran, Iraq's infrastructure would be in big trouble. It's a win-win situation that's keeping both countries happy. Why does all this matter? Well, with Iraq in its corner, Iran's got a whole new level of power in the region. They're not just influencing one country, they're changing the game across the Middle East. And you know who's not too happy about this? The US-Iran's strong presence in Iraq is like a thorn in America's side, challenging their influence in the region. So what's the big picture here? Iran's turned Iraq from an enemy into its most valuable ally. They're not just neighbors anymore, they're partners in a power play that's reshaping the Middle East. Iran's found a way to extend its reach, boost its economy, and stand up to Western pressure, all through its friendship with Iraq. All right, get ready for the big picture. Iran's global network isn't just about making friends, it's about changing the world as we know it. With Russia and North Korea in its corner, Iran's military power is skyrocketing. They're not just buying weapons, they're getting the tech to make their own. But here's the kicker. The US is watching this Iran-Russia team up, and they're not happy. It's like seeing your old rival team up with the new kid on the block. This alliance is shaking up the whole game, challenging the West's grip on global power. And it's not just about guns and missiles. Iran's playing the long game, building partnerships that help it dodge sanctions and boost its economy. They're showing the world that you don't need the West to be a major player. So what does this mean for the future? Is Iran leading the charge into a new world order? Tell us what you think in the comments.